The obsidian spacecraft streaked through Earth's blue sky, its sleek, angular frame cutting effortlessly through the thin clouds. Inside, the two exiled alien sisters, Elara and Mira, clutched the controls with unwavering focus, their faces etched with a mix of fear and determination. After a desperate escape from their homeworld Xylophos, the sisters had crossed the vast expanse of space, seeking refuge on this distant, uncharted planet. As their craft pierced the atmosphere, a cascade of fiery sparks erupted around them, the hull groaning under the strain of descent. "Brace for impact!" Elara shouted, her voice tinged with a rare hint of panic. The sisters braced themselves as the spacecraft hurtled towards the ground, slamming into the soft, verdant earth with a deafening crash. Dirt and debris billowed into the air as the craft skidded to a halt, settling in a shallow crater. For a moment, silence reigned, broken only by the faint hissing of the spacecraft's cooling systems. Elara and Mira remained still, hearts pounding, before slowly releasing their grip on the controls. They exchanged a tense glance, their bald heads glistening in the sunlight filtering through the gaping hole in the hull. "We made it," Mira whispered, her voice barely audible. Elara nodded, her expression guarded as she surveyed their new surroundings. Rolling hills covered in vibrant green grass stretched out before them, dotted with clusters of tall, thin trees. In the distance, they could see a sprawling city, its metallic spires and domes reaching skyward. A sudden commotion outside the craft caught their attention. Elara peered through the breach, eyes narrowing as she observed a crowd of curious onlookers gathering around the crash site. Humans, their faces a mix of awe and wariness. Mira placed a hand on her sister's arm, silently urging caution. Soon, the sound of approaching vehicles shattered the uneasy silence. Elara tensed, her fingers curling around the hilt of her energy blade, but Mira placed a calming hand on her. "Wait!" she murmured, her gaze fixed on the horizon. A convoy of sleek, angular vehicles came into view, their chrome exteriors gleaming in the sunlight. Leading the procession was a figure clad in a crisp, dark uniform, exuding an air of authority. As the vehicles drew nearer, the sisters could see the insignia on the man's chest, a symbol they didn't recognize but which seemed to command respect from the crowd. The convoy stopped, and the uniformed man stepped out, his piercing gaze sweeping over the battered spacecraft and its occupants. Elara tensed, her hand tightening around the energy blade, but Mira placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Welcome to Earth," the man said, his voice carrying a weight of authority. "I am General Thomas Reed, commander of the United Earth Government's military forces. We've been expecting you." Elara's brow furrowed in suspicion, but Mira stepped forward, her expression diplomatic. "Greetings, General Reed. I am Mira, and this is my sister Elara. We are." She paused, glancing at the damaged hull. "Refugees seeking asylum on your world." General Reed nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "We've been monitoring your approach for some time. I must say, your arrival has caused quite a stir." He gestured to the crowd of onlookers, a hint of a smile on his lips. "The people of Earth are curious about our new visitors." Elara bristled, eyes narrowing. "We did not come here to be a spectacle," she snapped, her tone sharp. "If you cannot offer us refuge, we will find it elsewhere." Mira shot her sister a reproachful glance, then turned to the general. "Please forgive my sister's harshness. We have been through much, and our trust has been tested. But we are grateful for your offer of assistance." General Reed inclined his head, unperturbed by Elara's outburst. "I understand your reluctance, but I assure you the people of Earth mean you no harm. We anticipated your arrival and are prepared to offer sanctuary and aid as you acclimate to our world." He gestured to the waiting vehicles, their sleek lines and advanced technology a stark contrast to the battered alien craft. "If you'll come with me, we can discuss the details in a more secure environment. I'm sure you have many questions, and we have much to learn from each other." Elara's brow furrowed as she considered the general's words, her distrust evident. Mira, however, nodded, her expression softening. "We will accompany you, General Reed. Our future here is uncertain, but we are willing to give your world a chance." With a final glance at the towering trees and distant city, the sisters followed the general and his entourage, stepping into the unknown that awaited them on this strange, new planet called Earth. The sterile, white walls of the secure facility did little to ease Elara and Mira's anxiety as they sat across from the stern-faced human interrogators. Under the harsh overhead lights, the sisters' distinctive features, their bald heads and high cheekbones, contrasted sharply with the unfamiliar faces scrutinizing them with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Mira responded to the interrogators' probing questions with diplomatic poise, carefully explaining the intricacies of Xylophan society and culture. Elara, on the other hand, remained stubbornly silent, arms crossed, her gaze fixed on a spot just beyond the human's shoulders. The tension in the room was a silent battle of wills between the sisters and their captors. As the interrogation dragged on, Elara grew increasingly restless. The monotonous questions, the clinical detachment of the humans, it all grated on her nerves, fueling her disdain for this alien world. She longed for the familiar hum of xylophos, the collective consciousness that had once defined her very being. Sensing her sister's agitation, Mira reached across the table and squeezed her hand, a silent plea for patience. Elara's gaze softened momentarily, and she gave a slight nod, her posture relaxing ever so slightly. The sisters had weathered countless trials together, and their bond was unbreakable, a constant in the shifting currents of their lives. Finally, the interrogation ended, and the sisters were escorted to a sparsely furnished room, their accommodations for the foreseeable future. As the heavy metal doors slid shut behind them, Elara let out a long, weary sigh, her shoulders slumping. "How much longer must we endure this interrogation?" she asked, her voice laced with frustration. Mira crossed the room, placing a reassuring hand on her sister's shoulder. "As long as it takes, Elara. These humans are cautious, but they have offered us refuge. We must prove ourselves worthy of their trust." Elara scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "Worthy? We are exiles from our own world, forced to beg for scraps on this backwater planet. Why should we care what these humans think of us?" Mira's expression softened, and she pulled Elara into a gentle embrace. "Because, sister, this may be our only chance at a new life. A chance to forge our own path, free from the constraints of Xylophan society." Elara hesitated, then slowly returned the embrace, her body relaxing as the familiar warmth of her sister's presence enveloped her. I know. But it feels so foreign, so uncertain. What if we can never truly find our place here? Then we will make one," Mira assured her, pulling back to meet her gaze. "Together, Elara. We have faced darkness before, and we have always emerged stronger for it. This world may be strange, but I sense a glimmer of possibility here, if we are willing to open our hearts to it." Elara nodded, her expression pensive. "Very well. I will try." With a smile, Mira took her sister's hand and led her toward the room's lone window, where they could gaze out upon the sprawling city in the distance. The sisters stood in silence, their eyes scanning the unfamiliar landscape, trying to discern the possibilities that lay beyond the confines of their temporary quarters. In the days that followed, Elara and Mira were gradually granted more freedom to explore their new surroundings. Under the watchful eye of their human guards, they ventured into the bustling city, their senses overwhelmed by the sights, sounds, and scents of this alien world. Elara found herself drawn to the vibrant expressions of human art, the emotive melodies that seemed to tug at the very depths of her soul. She would spend hours in galleries, her fingers tracing the intricate brushstrokes, her mind alight with a newfound appreciation for the raw power of artistic expression. Mira, on the other hand, became enthralled by the scientific marvels of Earth, spending countless hours with human researchers, discussing the principles of physics, chemistry, and engineering. The sisters had been raised in the rigid, collective society of Xylophos, where individual pursuits were frowned upon, but here, on this strange new world, they found themselves drawn to the freedom to explore their interests and passions. As the sisters navigated their newfound autonomy, they encountered a curious figure who would forever change the course of their lives. While browsing the wares of a bustling market, Elara and Mira stumbled upon a weathered old vendor, his lined face creased with a timeless wisdom. Ah, the exiled sisters! The vendor greeted them, his voice rich and melodic. I've been expecting you. Elara's brow furrowed in suspicion, but Mira stepped forward, her curiosity piqued. You know of us? She asked, her tone cautious. The vendor chuckled, his eyes twinkling with an enigmatic gleam. I know many things, child. And I sense a longing in your heart, a void that you have yet to fill. Mira's breath caught in her throat, and even Elara felt a stirring of interest. The vendor's words had struck a chord within them, resonating with a deep, unspoken yearning they had been struggling to understand. What do you mean? Mira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The vendor reached out and gently took her hand, his weathered fingers closing around hers. Love, my dear. The most powerful force in all the universe. It is what you seek, what you need to truly find your place in this world. Elara tensed, her eyes narrowing. Love? She scoffed. We are Xylophan. We have no need for such distractions. The vendor fixed her with a penetrating gaze, his expression softening. Ah, but that is where you are mistaken, child. Love is not a distraction, but a unifying force, one that can transcend the boundaries of worlds and cultures. Mira's eyes widened, her fingers tightening around the vendor's hand. Then, you believe we can find love here on Earth? The vendor smiled, a mysterious twinkle in his eye. That, my dear, is for you to discover. But I sense that the path before you is not one of loneliness, but of connection and profound transformation. With that, he gently released Mira's hand and turned back to his wares, leaving the sisters to ponder his cryptic words. As they walked away, a newfound curiosity and a spark of hope kindled in their hearts, the concept of love becoming a guide in the uncertain waters that lay ahead. The calm that had settled over Elara and Mira's newfound life on Earth shattered abruptly with the arrival of a sleek, obsidian spacecraft slicing through the sky. They were strolling through a bustling marketplace, absorbing the vibrant tapestry of human culture, when the ominous craft cleaved the clouds above, casting a foreboding shadow over the unsuspecting crowd. A chill coursed down Elara's spine, instinct seizing her in its grip. She clasped Mira's arm tightly, her gaze scanning the skies with wary intensity. Do you sense it, sister? Elara murmured, her voice tinged with apprehension. Mira followed Elara's gaze, her features reflecting the same unease. The Xylophan High Council, she whispered, realization dawning. They've tracked us down. Before they could react, the sleek craft descended swiftly, disgorging a swarm of angular fighters that streaked toward the market square. Panic erupted as humans scattered, cries of fear echoing through the chaotic streets. Elara and Mira stood back to back, hands instinctively moving to the energy blades concealed at their sides. We must find cover, Mira urged, her voice steady amidst the rising tide of panic. No, Elara countered, her resolve steeling. We fight. Running from our past ends now. They braced themselves as the Xylophan warriors descended, their movements precise and relentless. Elara met their onslaught with swift, calculated strikes, her blade humming with lethal energy. Mira, ever the strategist, analyzed their tactics, guiding Elara and striking with precision. The battle surged on, honed skills clashing against unwavering loyalty to the High Council. Despite their prowess, Elara and Mira found themselves slowly yielding ground, their energy reserves waning. Just as hope began to dim, a familiar voice pierced the chaos. Elara! Mira! They spun around to see Sergeant John Miller and Corporal Daniel Harris, their human comrades, charging towards them with weapons drawn. Without hesitation, the soldiers joined the fray, their skills melding seamlessly with those of the sisters. Renewed vigor surged through Elara and Mira as they fought alongside their newfound allies. John and Daniel moved with fluid grace, their tactics catching the Xylophans off guard. In the heat of battle, Elara and Mira moved in perfect harmony, anticipating each other's moves. Their bond, forged through shared trials, amplified their abilities, channeling the power of the Xylophan consciousness with devastating efficiency. The Xylophans, confident in their numbers, faltered under the unified assault of sisters and humans alike. With a final, decisive strike, victory was theirs. The Xylophan warriors retreated in the face of their resilience and unity. In the aftermath, Elara and Mira stood alongside John and Daniel, breaths ragged, bodies bruised but spirits soaring. They exchanged looks of newfound respect and gratitude. "You fought well," Elara acknowledged, her tone carrying a rare hint of approval. "Your courage and skill exceeded my expectations." John grinned, camaraderie gleaming in his eyes. "We had good teachers," he said, nodding toward Mira. Mira stepped forward, clasping John's hand in solidarity. "Thank you," she said softly but with conviction. "You risked much to stand with us. We won't forget it." Daniel stood by Elara's side, earnestness in his expression. "We couldn't let you face them alone," he said simply. "This is our home now. We protect our own." Elara felt an unfamiliar flutter in her chest. She glanced at Daniel's hand, uncertainty flickering in her eyes, then nodded in acknowledgement. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of twilight, Elara and Mira reflected on their journey to this moment. Their initial skepticism toward humans had transformed into respect and understanding through shared trials. "Who would have thought," Mira pondered, eyes scanning the bustling city, "that we'd find a home among these people?" Elara squeezed her sister's hand, a rare smile playing on her lips. "I never imagined it. Yet here we stand." John's voice broke through their reverie, optimism coloring his words. "This is just the beginning. Together, we can forge a future where our peoples coexist and thrive." Mira nodded thoughtfully. "A future where unity and individuality walk hand in hand. That's a dream worth fighting for." As they gazed out over the city, Elara and Mira knew challenges lay ahead. The Xylophan High Council wouldn't relent easily. Yet, in that moment, they felt purpose and belonging they'd never known on their homeworld. The exiled sisters had found their place on this strange planet, and they were determined to defend it, no matter the cost. Years had passed since Elara and Mira's tumultuous arrival on Earth, and now they stood alongside their human companions, Sergeant John Miller and Corporal Daniel Harris, surveying the bustling city they had helped rebuild. The scars from their fierce battle with the Xylophan High Council's warriors had healed long ago, both physically and emotionally. What had begun as a clash of cultures and ideologies had evolved into a profound bond, forged in the crucible of hardship and the unifying power of love. Elara took a deep breath, her bald head gleaming under the warm hues of the setting sun. "It's incredible to think this city was once just a distant sight on the horizon," she reflected, her voice touched with a rare sense of awe. Mira reached out, gently squeezing her sister's hand, a gesture that had become second nature after years of relying on each other. "Indeed," she agreed, her eyes scanning the skyline. "This planet has become our sanctuary, Elara. A place where we've not only found refuge, but purpose and belonging unlike anything we knew on Xylophos." John moved closer, his arm brushing Mira's as he followed her gaze. "It's been a challenging journey," he remarked, pride evident in his voice. "But together we've built something truly remarkable." Daniel joined Elara's side, his touch on her hand both tender and reassuring. "A future where our worlds can coexist, celebrating both unity and individuality," he added softly, meeting Elara's gaze with a warmth that once felt alien to her. Elara felt a stirring in her chest, a sensation familiar since their arrival on Earth. The walls around her heart had crumbled over the years, replaced by a deep love for the humans who had become her family. "I never thought I'd say this," Elara began, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "But I'm grateful for the path that brought us here. For the love we've discovered, and the purpose we've embraced." Mira embraced her sister tightly, eyes reflecting their shared journey. "We've come a long way, Elara. From exiles to champions, from strangers to cherished members of this community. This is our home now, and we'll defend it with all we have." They held each other, drawing strength from their unbreakable bond. John and Daniel watched with respect and affection for the extraordinary women they'd grown to love. As Elara and Mira stepped back, they turned to their human companions, eyes filled with newfound clarity. "There's something we haven't shared, even with you," Mira began, her voice steady yet gentle. A secret that shapes our existence and binds us to both worlds. Elara nodded solemnly. On Xylophos, we were more than sisters. We were vessels, conduits for our people's collective consciousness. A power that still flows through us. John and Daniel listened intently, pieces falling into place. The Xylophan hive mind, Daniel murmured, comprehension dawning. Yes, Elara confirmed, her grip on Daniel's hand firm. But here on Earth, we've learned to wield this power differently, not to control, but to unite. To bridge our worlds. Mira stepped forward, gaze encompassing their loved ones. When we fought alongside you against the Xylophans, we felt a connection beyond strategy and skill. Our essences intertwined, creating a unity greater than the sum of its parts. John grasped Mira's hand, awe and reverence in his eyes. So by opening your hearts to us, to this world, you've unlocked a power beyond your homeworld's confines? Elara smiled faintly. Exactly. The Xylophan consciousness isn't a burden, it's a gift. One we now use to forge a future where our peoples coexist, even thrive. Daniel squeezed Elara's hand, newfound understanding in his eyes. Then our strength truly lies in unity. Bound not just by shared experiences, but by our very essence. They stood in silence, revelation settling upon them. Below, the city bustled, a testament to human resilience and ingenuity, and the transformative power of their alliance. Mira turned to Elara, clarity in her gaze. Do you remember the wise vendor from years ago? The one who spoke of love? Elara nodded, a softness in her eyes. I do. His words seemed foreign then, but now they resonate. Love, Mira continued, voice rich with emotion, has unlocked our true potential. It binds us to this world, to these people, transcending our origins. John and Daniel drew closer, arms encircling the sisters. Let's honor that love, John murmured, and build a future where our worlds, dreams, and aspirations thrive together. Elara and Mira leaned into the embrace, hearts filled with belonging and purpose. In that moment, they knew their uncertain path had led to a destiny greater than imagined. As the sun dipped, painting the sky in hues of wonder, they stood united. Their bond, forged through adversity, now a beacon of unity, celebrating the tapestry of their worlds, their individualities, and infinite possibilities.